So we're reading the Constitution 15 minutes at a time. We were up to Article 1, Section 9. For accessibility purposes, I am a white male with brown hair and blue or hazel eyes. I'm wearing a red shirt or a maroon shirt and a maroon and black striped tie today. All right, let me get to Article 1, Section 9. All right. The migration or importation of such persons as any of the states now existing shall think proper to admit shall not be prohibited by the Congress prior to the year 1808, but a tax or duty may be imposed on such importation not exceeding $10 for each person. Okay, I think this relates to people that were enslaved. The migration, I'm going to read it again. The migration or importation of such persons as any of the states now existing shall think proper to admit shall not be prohibited by the Congress prior to the year 1808, but a tax or duty may be imposed on such importation not exceeding $10 for each person. So it's interesting that we are talking about people that were enslaved, but we're using the term migration or importation of such persons. So I'm sorry, this is a dark, we have a dark history and there are dark things to talk about in our history. And I try to just read the text, but at the same time, you know, um, being true to the history of our country. So it seems like in 1808, I think I want to get that right. Sorry. Yes, 1808, you could not bring in any more enslaved people. And on the one hand, that sounds great because we don't want to bring any more enslaved people. That sounds great. But with any rule, people find a loophole, and if you can't bring people in who are enslaved, but if you are born to a mother who is enslaved, that makes you enslaved. Um, I can't speak to the actual history of what was done, but that was a loophole that I believe was used. And, either I can't say what it is like to be an African American or an African American woman, um, but, you know, um, either either forcing two people to create more progeny or forcing oneself on an enslaved woman. Um, that's part of our history. And as dark as our history is, the good thing about the Constitution is we keep it all, the dark, the good. I'm not saying that makes it better, but we it's always here to be read, not to be ignored. The next part. The privilege of the writ of habeas corpus shall not be suspended unless when in cases of rebellion or invasion of the public safety may require it. Pardon me. I'm honestly not sure what that means. And I've read the Constitution more times than most people. I probably should have looked it up more times than zero. But I don't know what that means. And it's okay not to know what things mean. Next section. No bill of attainder or ex post facto law shall be passed. Again, these are words that, I don't really know what all of them mean. We can look them up. But I believe an ex post facto law is a law passed after the fact. Like, you can't say that something someone already did is illegal. You can make a law saying if you do it from this point in time, it's illegal. Again, maybe I should have looked these words up earlier, but for purposes of the accessibility of the Constitution, we can pick it up and read it, even if we don't know what all the words mean. Okay. Next portion. The capitation or other direct tax shall be laid. I'm sorry. No capitation or other direct tax shall be laid unless it is in proportion to the census or enumeration herein before directed to be taken. I'm having trouble because this is dirty. So I'm going to clean it. One moment. Sorry for snorting. Like I said, this may not be the sexiest, but it's real. All right, let's wash this off. Maybe make it a little easier to read. Bing, bang, boom. Bing, bang, boom. There we go. Thank you for bearing with me. So, again, let's see. Still dirty. Sorry, still dirty. So again, no capitation or other direct tax shall be laid unless in proportion to the census or enumeration herein before directed to be taken. I have no idea what that means. Okay, like, let's be honest, I have no idea what that means. And it's okay not to understand what every part of the Constitution means. We can still read it, we can still struggle with it. We could, we have a general idea. You can't do weird stuff with taxes. You gotta take a census before you do stuff with taxes. Okay, next part. No tax or duty shall be laid on articles exported from any state. So that is like, states can't, from one state bordering another, you can't tax things going from one state to another. The Congress is the only uh, body that can do do taxes. So states can't put taxes on goods going in or out of their states. Next portion. No preference shall be given. I'm not sure what to call these because we're not going to like another section, but it's like a new paragraph, a new set of words. But it's like the Constitution has specific ways that it's described. Article 1, Section 5, and so I apologize that I'm not being very articulate as I go from one of these to the other. No preference shall be given by any regulation of commerce or revenue to the ports of one state over those of another, nor shall vessels be bound to or from one state be obliged to enter, clear, or pay duties in another. So again, states can't tax each other. Again, this appears to be in waterways and ports, and you can't favor one set of ports over another. If I'm reading this correctly, again, we can all read this. You can read this. You can be like, you read that wrong. Feel free. No money shall be drawn from the treasury, but in consequence of appropriation made by law, and a regular statement and account of receipts and expenditures of all public money shall be published from time to time. So when we spend money, we gotta say where we spent it and where it came from. I honestly didn't really know that. Okay. No title of nobility shall be granted by the United States, and no person holding any office of profit or trust under them shall, without the consent of Congress, accept any present, emolument, office, or title of any kind whatever from any king, prince, or sovereign state. I'm going to read that section again, that portion again. Pardon me for snorting. No title of nobility shall be granted by the United States, and no person holding any office of profit or trust under them shall, without the consent of Congress, accept any present, emolument, office, or title, or any kind whatever, from any king, prince, or sovereign state. So this is often called the emoluments clause, and it's been in the news recently with our. I'm sorry, I'm trying to get my head right so that I don't. Anyway, I apologize as I try to get my head right. Literally. Um, it's been in the news because I try to stay out of politics when I do this, but throughout our history, presidents had not accepted any gifts from any leader of any other nation, and that's because of the emoluments clause, which is traditionally been read as saying you can't. You can't accept that. That's how people have read that. Again, you can read it for yourself. And recently, um, that was done by a president, and people were concerned that gifts were being accepted, or if people were staying in a certain hotel and a certain hotel was owned by a corporation that, sorry, trying to get my head right. As I turn one way, it goes the other way in the thing. But if the hotel is owned by a certain corporation which has an association with a certain president, does that violate the emoluments clause? So like these kinds of things are why I'm kind of doing this. Is like, does it? What do you think? Like, what does this say? Like, does that violate the emoluments clause? Like, should we be allowed to do that? Should we not be allowed to do it? And we can all have opinions about these different things, and we can all have strong opinions or weak opinions, but I just like to read the Constitution. So I would just encourage everyone to read it. Find your copy and read it and be like, what do I think? Is that something I'm worried about? Is that something I'm not worried about? I'm not saying you should be worried about it or you shouldn't worry about it, but we're so divided that, if we just kind of read the document and talk about what the document says and how we feel about it. So this is the longest I've ever gone. I'm over 13 minutes, and I specifically, I started at 5. Then I went over 5. Then went to 10. Then I went over 10. So I'm really trying to stay under 15. So, all right, thank you.